Good morning. Happy world. It is, what time is it? It is 10:21, and we are coming to you live from the Belmont Bay, Virginia, talking about real estate.
I literally
Neighbors.
just saw him.
Yeah. Why? What do you need? Neighbors.
And he told me what he needed.
Yeah, but while we're waiting for people to get on this morning, it's odd because this whole new format thing, right? So we're trying to figure out how to flow into it. Normally we would have a funny quip and talk about random things. Like this morning, I was talking about my lips. I love, so this entire world is fake, guys. It 100% is. Jen's not. She's real. But, well, okay, excuse me. You're fake too. Love that. Everybody has something fake about them. So for me, I've been getting fillers in my lips for literally ever. For the last, I don't know, 4 years or so. Mm. And so if you notice that my lips are bruised and a little swollen, it's because they're new. So, anywho, yeah, do things that make you feel good. My lips is one of them. Anywho.
What a mess.
Yeah.
Louie, what do you think about that?
Man.
God, you stink.
A little stink.
No stink.
Oh, yeah. So you had fun on Monday. You were staging with Q.
Yeah. Oh my God, thank God I went back to that yesterday.
So if you guys caught her IG story, it's such a good tip. Whenever you're a listing agent on something, do not trust just because you stage it and it's vacant that everything will be perfect because
sent the cleaners in, and I knew when I went over there just to check to see, and they were moving stuff. I was like, oh no,
oh no,
this isn't gonna be good. So I went to go teach for 3 hours, and then on my way leaving, stopped by. Sure enough, 2 feather dusters laying around. Plastic bags.
That's crazy though to me.
They left their supplies.
Right. And it's not like you throw those away whenever you leave. Where they just did something happen? Were you in a rush out of the house and all of a sudden we have to leave right now in a hurry? Right. So they just left everything out? That's crazy.
Clearly in the instructions asked them to set the alarm when they left. No alarm was set when I came in. I was like, cool, this is great. Every picture was crooked. Every photo and flower was somewhere else. The whole kitchen vignette situation completely shifted in a hot mess. And our photographer would have gone in
and just taken
just shot pictures.
Yeah, I mean, HD Bros is dope, but they don't know any better. They're just like, all right, cool. Is a feather duster's a new staging trend trend now? I would have been so mad if I would have got those photos back.
One of them I almost didn't even see because it was wedged between the bench at the end of the bed and a fuzzy on the bed. And so it was the only thing that made it pop was it was a cream fuzzy with the gray, a cream feather duster thing with the gray fuzzy. So I was like, is this thing two-toned? No, and I went to pull and I was like, get out of here.
Right. So then learning moment for you, always check your listings before you let their photographer come, even if it's vacant, because you never know what could happen. People
Otherwise,
are crazy.
It's a total waste of money on all that marketing.
Yeah, for sure. So
that's all I could think about.
Now we're into learning moment 1.
Yeah.
Jen, what does an ESA mean?
Emotional support animal.
Okay. And what did you learn about emotional support animals?
That you can't charge pet deposit for them. So
that's a little bizarre, to me, because as soon as she said that, I was like, that's not true.
Right.
But apparently it is. So brokers out there, if you guys are listening and you also have an opinion on this, we would love to hear it because the agent on the other side of this is a Long and Foster broker, and they have old school brokers who literally know everything. Mm-hmm. So folks out there, if you are a landlord and you think that you're going to be able to charge a pet deposit if somebody has an emotional support animal, and here's the joke about emotional support animals. You can go on the internet and get them certified. So that doesn't mean that they have to be trained. It doesn't mean that they are the kind of service animal, a life. It is, and I don't want to downplay it. I mean, those people who actually need emotional support animals, absolutely. But I could go online right now and pay $150 and get myself my 2 greyhounds emotional support license, and next thing you know, I don't have to pay all sorts of stuff. So, hi Vicky, happy morning. So anyway, I had no idea that was the case. I thought that you treated an emotional support animal just like you would any other, not pet necessarily, because I knew that you had to.
They have to get approved. You have to accept the pet, but to not. And I'm still kind of really okay.
All right. But somebody call Lisa Langless. You're our new principal broker for Virginia. Talk to us. Let us know.
I'm about to go online and register Louis. You're gonna come with me everywhere.
Right? Just put him have a little vest on. But
then I'm like, dang, does that mean I can actually train him so he doesn't act a fool out in public?
He doesn't act a fool in public. I'm like the stupid auntie. I'm like, don't be mean to my boy. Just sit there, yell at anybody.
He's a mess.
Yeah. So yesterday I had a great opportunity to go to someone. It was, and I don't know if it was a learning moment or it was a learning moment in a way, but also just a reality check for me. So I got invited to a room yesterday that I felt like I had no business being in, but I was very grateful for the opportunity. I got invited to a mastermind in DC yesterday with some great minds from across the country. And so we went out to dinner afterwards, and I was having a conversation with one of the team leaders from Anne Arundel County, and he reminded me that if you wait until you're ready to do something, then you're never going to be ready. And what is on the other side of fear is greatness. And so it's like, I also learned that apparently I'm a black hat thinker, which is not something, I've never heard that term before, but I'm a doomsday person. So, another Vicky. Good morning, Vicky. All the Vickies. But I always poke holes in everything. So it's like I always think about the worst case scenario that could possibly happen before I make the decision. And it happens really fast. It's like I'm excited about something and I can see the opportunity, but I also get very nervous about things. And so it's just like it's checking that fear and not waiting until you're ready. Because if you wait until you're ready, you're never going to be ready. So if you needed to hear that out there, use this as your sign. Yeah. You're never going to be ready, so just do it.
Yeah, just go.
Yeah.
Do it.
So
that's good.
Yeah, which kind of works into when you need a moment. You never know when somebody's going to need a moment. So what?
Yeah. I was talking to a past client who referred me another client, and apparently that other client said to this client, they were asking like about me, like how I was doing, and so it reminded me, oh my God, I need to call them. You know what I mean? Like. Maybe they need a moment with me. Maybe we just need a moment. Yeah. Instead of them going to somebody else to ask about our moment. You know? So, I mean, it doesn't really sound like much, but it was just a reminder yesterday. And so I did. I called, got the voicemail. But
But either way you called.
Just to check in, you know?
Yeah. People are funny, though. Like, we get stories in our head about the reasons why we don't want to call people, or whether it's like you're worried about your time and they're going to take too much time, or... I don't know. Human beings are strange in general. Like, we as human beings are very strange in the stories that we come up with about things whenever chances are it's really not that way at all. Yeah. And it's something that likely has to do with them and not you. Yeah. But, just be mindful. You don't need to spend 3 hours on the phone. You don't need to call them every day, but just check in and say hello. Right. People want to hear from you. Yeah. And so we get stuck in a world of social media that we think we know what's actually going on, but you just know the highlights. And half the time the highlights are completely fake anyway. Not fake, but, they're highlights. They're highlights. It's not actually what's going on.
Yeah. Most people, no. Stay positive.
See, okay. Like, now she's about to go into a black hat way of thinking, most people, ah! So, yeah.
Sometimes people use social media to, like, just pour the negative, like,
that's true.
Right?
That's why you unfollow.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. So my other learning moment from last week, I actually had a lot of learning moments. Some of them I can't talk about. I was talking to Q about this earlier. I was like, I'll talk to you guys about it on the team meeting, but I was also warned there's some things I probably shouldn't say on the great internet. So
it's there forever.
Because it's there forever.
Just like bad photos if you don't check your listing beforehand.
Yeah. Right. It's there forever until the next listing, and then they go away forever. But anyways, last Friday specifically was quite the day for a lot of things. We have a lot of stuff under contract right now. And so the more things you have under contract, the crazier things can happen and the more things can go wrong. Yeah. So we have a piece of land out in, where is it at? Out in way past Frederick, somewhere in between Rutherglen, I believe. Yeah. We have a piece of land out in Rutherglen. Yeah, we have a piece of land out in Rutherglen, and we got it under contract super fast because it's a lovely piece of land. And we got it under contract at a much higher price, and we didn't think anything of it. We're like, all right, it's 10 acres out in the woods. It's a beautiful piece of property. There's a lot of clearing that comes with it, whatever. So Friday, we get the appraisal back. It came back very, very low. And so, very low. And what I learned is because we don't do land very often, so what I learned about land is if you do the appraisal and the land has a separate appraised value, and then the house has a separate appraised value. So even though the appraisal came back more than $50,000 low, the house came back higher. So they were able to take the value of the house that's going on the property and offset the low appraisal by a considerable amount.
I was like, there's no structure there yet.
But it's going to be. Okay. So even though it was not the full amount that we were able to make up, but we were able to make up some of the delta based on the potential of the house going in there and the architectural plans, even though the land, so the seller of the land is still going to get higher. And we were able to renegotiate. Everything is fine. We pushed out closing 2 weeks, and and we're good to go. So it was just, that was a learning moment for me. I had no idea that you could take into consideration a structure that was not even on the property yet, with an appraisal for land. So it's kind of neat. If you got any land to sell, I'm basically an expert now, so give me a call. JK.
One land deal.
I'm a pro. No, but Will's actually done a lot of land deals. Land is interesting to me. There's so many nuances to all of these different. Everything you can sell is different. Like randomly, Will met a guy who used to sell prisons. He was the guy, and I know, and he's a commercial real estate agent, but he happened to be the only person in the U.S. who was. But he started getting death threats. And so he just eventually, so he couldn't, because it's for-profit prisons, and so people, so eventually he got out of the prison game because of that reason. But it's like, there's so many nuances, there's so many niches that people can go into. I'm like, who knows? Jen could be like, I sell dance studios. But what the interesting part about the prison guy, from what Will told me, was. He was able to value them because based on inmate occupancy, right? So so it's being able to value. So I was like, what, at that point, aren't you a business broker at that point as well, in addition to being like an actual physical location broker? So super wild. Love it, right? I'm like, you never know who you're going to meet. He met this guy in Chicago at NAR, so pretty wild stuff.
Crazy.
All right, she's got a much better art market update than I do.
Well, I mean, it's kind of disappointing. Water views, they're still competitive.
I was gonna say, so there was a condo that came on the market in our neighborhood, and they priced way above.
Aggressive.
And every time that, I swear to God, every time something in this neighborhood comes over, we're like, there's no way. I want it to, because that would be incredible, but there's no way that they're gonna be able to get the value on this.
It was stunning. It was stunning. Yeah. In person, way better than the photos. Like photos, I was like, okay, I know the modeling of the unit. It's a great layout.
But the actual unit itself
looked dated in the photos.
Not
second
in
we walked in, I was like, oh, she's gorgeous.
That's like the first floor unit that is like absolutely beautiful in person. It's so funny that some of these things don't translate well in photos.
Yeah.
But anyway, so water views, it went for over $60,000 above where we thought that it should have been originally priced. So we're going to be excited to see what it.
Finance contingency.
Interesting.
Which makes me so angry. I posted this on my story too. I asked that agent 3 times, an email,
you had a
text,
potential buyer.
and voice to voice. Oh, I had a buyer. We wrote on it the day that we saw it. I stayed up an extra hour and 15 minutes of my life Sunday night to make sure that we could get this offer in before the Monday deadline of her presenting.
Whew.
Never mind my time, the emotional connection. Well, we try to make sure our buyers don't get emotionally attached. They freaking loved it.
Yeah.
And the agent, when I talked to her, she was like, oh, any offer can be beat. Well, is there a finance contingency? Because you don't beat that.
Right, not unless you can beat it as well.
Exactly.
Right, and we can't.
And I told her flat out, I said, we have lost out on multiple properties in the community because we have to keep that finance contingency.
Yeah.
Point blank period. So if you have an offer without it, let me know. We won't write. We will not waste anyone's time.
And of course, she didn't do that. That sucks.
Agent also averages 3 deals a year.
Okay.
So I was like, this might be a game for you, but we're not out here writing offers for sport.
Right. Well, and that actually leads into my market update. So it's like, we keep talking about how the market has shifted, but the more that I'm working, because I'm working with a couple of buyers right now, so I'm no longer just doing sellers, which is what I've been doing the majority of this year. And so right now I realize that there's a whole lot of mix between misconceptions out there. So it's, probably we were saying the market has shifted. The market has shifted over the last month, but it varies between if you're in a luxury price point, if you're in a community like this where it's already super hot and you have water views and it's still affordable and all of these things that people are willing to do whatever. So it varies. And these kids, and I say these kids, there's a lot of younger folks who are looking for being their first time home buyer, and they're like, well, we don't want to offer this, or well, we want to offer more. And it's like, well, no, I know that we are over here in Arlington, and I'm telling you that we need to offer dropping contingencies, things like that, because of the pocket that we're in. But now we're in Falls Church, and no, you can actually offer less over here because this is not moving. So it's trying to educate through all of the misconceptions, and it's hard, and it's very area dependent. So My point to that is just listen to your realtor.
Yes. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day, just listen to your realtor as long as they know what they're doing. If they don't, then don't listen to them and find a better one.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's that.
All right. Mm-hmm. So is that the secretive game client story? So that rolled into the secretive game client story. Yeah. Oh man. And actually it rolls mine and right into the condo at Falls Church. So not all agents are created equal. I will scream this until the cows come home. So my cute little buyers, they send me a list of 3 houses. Two are in Arlington, one is in Falls Church. All of these have over 60 days on market. The one in Falls Church has over 100 days on market. And I was like, this is interesting. So I get there ahead of time. I'm looking around. I'm like, all right, it's super dated, but it's in a great location. It's right off 7. It's walkable to some of the shops. Like, it's a super easy, like, ride into Arlington and to DC and all that. So it was like, this doesn't make any sense why it would be on. And so I started going through it, and it still didn't make a lot of sense. And so then I contacted the agent. I'm like, what's going on? And he couldn't tell me anything. He's like, well, I was like, well, what are the age of the systems? What are the age of the roof? What are the age of the windows? What are the age of any of these things? And he's like, I can find out tomorrow, but the seller doesn't know. I have to talk to the seller's son. The seller's son straight up lied. He's like, it's been replaced in the last 2 years. I'm like, you don't get rust on, I looked at the furnace. I was like, you don't get rust on the furnace like this within 2 years. So something is not right here. But then I start investigating even further and realize that this guy has listed this house in the MLS as a fee simple property. And then I pulled the tax record and it's a condo. So it's in a condo ownership. And the only reason, and it looks like a townhouse. So this agent has made a misconception or made a misjudgment based on the way it looks instead of looking in the actual property type. Because whenever builders create these land bays, they sometimes will go condo ownership because it affects the density. So you can fit more homes inside of a complex if it's titled as a condo instead of being titled in fee simple, which is your typical like townhomes, single family homes, things like that. So I run my comps on it. This thing is listed. So mind you, it started being listed at $525. Now it's listed at $499. I looked at comps. There is the only one in the neighborhood that is even remotely a comp settled in March for $475, and it had a 1-car garage and was 200 square feet bigger. Jeez. And it was in better cosmetic condition because this one cosmetically she was less. There was a lot less to be desired for. Yeah. It smelled terrible. Everything in there that we could tell was old. Carpet needed to be replaced, floors needed to be stripped, house needed to be painted. You know, it had been a rental for quite some time. So ran the comps, pulled those together, we wrote on it. We ended up we wrote on it at $450. We wrote on it at $450 because that is what the comps say. If you're telling me that this one settled at $475, it's in better condition, you've got a garage, you've got more square footage, you know, all of these things. To me, this is $450, and we're willing to negotiate. What I tell my folks is, I was like, I would be willing for you. I was like, no more than $460. Yeah. Like at $460 at this point, like it's just a waste of time because it's not going to appraise. You guys are going to be out of time. It's just not worth even going. So we wrote on it, and mind you, the agent at this time has told me, he's like, just get me something, we'll make it work. So I got him something, and his response, it's too low. I said, well, I completely understand. I say, and then I sent him the comps. I sent him all of the information as to, I was like, you need to go and check the MLS. I said, you need to go and check your thing. I was like, you listed this as fee simple. It's actually a condo. And all of his response was, okay, thanks. So guess what's still listed as a condo? Or guess what's still listed as fee simple and it hasn't been changed.
I can't stand some agents.
Yeah, and whenever you look at him, like, this is his second deal. And he's also in a brokerage that is not supportive, like some of the other ones out there. What did Katie say? I'd love to know where things have slowed down. I'm seeing multiples even as far out as Luray. Prince William County, for the most part, Katie. Depends on price point. We've had, I'm hoping that we have some good luck down in Stafford, but things are falling out. We're also seeing more things falling for us personally. More things are falling out due to financing. Yep. Which is wild. Like I got a phone call yesterday from somebody who we have something under contract, and the buyer, I'm representing the list on this side, but the buyer had had something negatively impact their credit that came out of nowhere. And so they no longer qualify for a conventional loan, so they have to switch loan types. Thanks. So now thankfully they're fully able to qualify, but it's this is not the first time this has happened. I think I pushed back settlement on three different listings right now based on some weird financing stuff going on. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, man. Katie, you're out there in Loudoun County though, so you guys are a little different. You've got great schools and beautiful land and a lot of new construction. So I think it depends. We've been telling everybody here that after Labor Day, our two strongest markets are in the spring and in the fall. And so if we wait until after Labor Day, then we should be in pretty good shape. Yeah, and good morning, Kelly.
Morning, Kelly.
Yeah. Well, what else we got? Buyers are concerned about not being able to afford price grid. So did John talk about this one?
Yeah.
So Katie, so here's something that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of folks that I moved into some rentals in 22315 specifically, and watching those prices, they're super worried that when their lease ends next year, they're not going to be able to afford a $700,000 one-car garage townhouse.
Yep.
That was $535 2.5 years ago.
Yep. I think you're yeah, and I mean that's such a valid concern. That's actually I'm speaking before the Board of Supervisors of Prince William County next week, I believe, and that's going to be the platform of my speech. Is that the reason why we want further development in some of our locations is because we can't afford anything. Just like so Alexandria and Arlington, first-time home buyers, millennials, you can't afford unless you've got some tech job where you're making $150,000 plus and you have no debt. You can't afford these homes. Because you've got corporations who are coming up and buying them up. You've got cash, because we've got so much cash in this area. It's like, we're not California yet, but you've got pockets where people want to live in. So now you've got to start looking at the outside areas. Like, all right, Woodbridge. It used to be called Hoodbridge. There's some weird connotations about that. But we have a multi-million-dollar VRE station at the top of our neighborhood that has a direct connection to Union Station, DC, Arlington, Crystal City, like all of these things. That can easily be utilized if we had a community that if we had walkability, if we had the things that our generation wants. So the moral of the story is it's really expensive out there in some places, and that's a completely valid concern as they can't afford it.
Well, and also having coaching conversations with these, now renters, soon to be buyers, of like broaden your horizon. Mm-hmm. Get out of this like tunnel vision of thinking that like this is the place that you're supposed to live or you have to live because of X, Y, and Z. Explore more options, you'd be pleasantly surprised. So having those conversations now, so that spring and summer of next year, hopefully there's a little bit of change of heart for some of my folks so they can get something beautiful that they're going to love and be able to afford.
Wow. Yeah, be able to afford keyword
Nobody
there.
wants to be house
so whenever we say affordable housing is relative. Affordable housing in this area is less than $600,000. It's not, a $50,000 condo that has things less to be desired around it, Yeah. So it's very frustrating.
I was looking at last month, the average and the median home sales price. I want to say average was 7 something, median was like 645, something like that. Went in Fairfax County, because somebody had asked me. So I looked at, MVAR is good for those stats, but in what month are we in? August just ended. So for July, average home sales price in Fairfax County was like 704 or 714, something like that. Wow. Yeah. When we first got into real estate, Fairfax County was 475.
Yep. It was 475 in 2015.
Yep.
It's crazy how much. $200,000 in 6 years. It's like, welcome to the... I don't even know. It just like welcome to the future. It breaks my heart. Versus my house. I own a house in South Carolina that I bought it for $70,000 when I was 19. I still have it. I probably could sell it for maybe $20,000 more than what I bought it for. So it's like there's such a vast difference. And by the way, this is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on a freaking acre of land in the beautiful country. The hell, it doesn't make no sense to me at all. But even with all this being said,
still a great time to buy and sell.
It's still a great time to buy and sell because if this keeps on happening, it's like, is the bubble going to happen? Is the bubble going to happen? We don't see. This is the law of supply and demand. Yeah. So you're just going to keep not being able to afford stuff, and we're just going to keep screaming about it. But even with all the craziness out there, there are some sellers who are still willing to do a pre-occupancy. So one of my amazing friends and sellers, she purchased her new home. She's already moved out of it. The buyers aren't settling for 2 weeks. They've been living in a hotel. So their agent called me last night and was like, is there any possibility that your seller would consider a pre-occupancy? And she's like the coolest person in the world. So she's like, yeah, no problem.
Oh, nice.
She's like, no problem, whatever. Because she was a veteran. These guys are veterans. So yeah, it's always a no until you ask. So yeah, just remember that.
I'm just trying to find the exact number because I feel like I just pulled that off the side of my neck and it's bothering me. I don't like to give false information.
Oh, in fact, this is them talking about the It's a pre-occupancy now. I'll have to give them a call in just a minute.
Give them a little buzzy buzz.
Give them a little buzzy buzz back. So, still a great time to buy or sell a house.
732.
732.
There it is. Average in July was 732 and median 632. I was pretty close with those numbers I put outside my neck. That was good. That was pretty
good job. Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy.
Anyhow. Anyway, that's this week's reality check. We got nothing else for you except for we love you. Be kind to your realtors. Be kind to your mind. And yeah, hit us up if you want to buy or sell a house.
Yeah.
Love you. Bye now.